that she needed to be. It was a normal evening. The club had brought in a ton of money, and it was time to check the books, put the proceeds in the safe, walk through with security, and make sure that all of the women had been escorted out to their vehicles. Then he headed up to his office and nodded at the guard who stood outside of his office at all times. He closed the door behind him and took a seat at his desk. As usual, he went over the books and put away the money before locking up the safe. Then he sat down at the desk again for a moment and looked down at his phone. There was a message from one of the dancers at the club. He replied to tell her to come up to his office so they could talk. A few moments later, there was a knock at the door. The security guard peeped in and let Richard know that the dancer, Lovely D, was here for him. He nodded, confirming that it was okay to let her in. "Hey, do me a favor. Don't let anyone in for a little bit. I need to have a talk with her in private, all right?" Richard said, as Lovely D walked into the room, still dressed in her performance attire. "No problem," the guard said, before closing the door behind him. "So what can I do for you?" Richard asked, while licking his lips. Lovely D stood there stacked like a purebred stallion. She had a perfect set of double D breasts, a small waist, a fat ass, and fat pussy to match. It was nearly impossible for any man to avoid salivating when she walked into a room. She was just one on a long list of dancers that would occasionally meet Richard in his office after hours to talk. "You already know what you can do for me," she said, walking over toward his chair. "It's better when I can hear it. Let me know what the problem is, and I'll try my best to solve it," he said, feeling his dick begin to swell in his pants. Lovely D leaned back and gently slid onto his desk. She immediately pulled her thong to the side and took one finger to massage her throbbing clitoris. After she was satisfied with the amount of juices on her finger, she put her finger inside of his mouth and allowed him to lick it off before speaking. "You can come eat this pussy. That's what I need you to do for me," she said, while biting her bottom lip. "Damn," he said aloud, while briefly rubbing his dick through his jeans. He moved in close while she held her thong with one hand and spread her pussy lips apart with the other. His warm tongue making contact with her clit immediately caused her to release a moan. She was nearly about to come on contact, but she was able to relax enough to enjoy it. Richard was amazing at giving head, almost like a professional. It didn't hurt that he had the long bank account to go along with the long dick inside his pants. For an older man, he knew how to handle the young women. It didn't matter how good they were with aerobics. He held his own every time. She leaned back to give him more room to work. He slurped and licked her pussy in circles for the next 10 minutes, bringing on one orgasm after another. Her body was trembling and releasing all inside of his mouth. "I need you to fuck me, Daddy," she said in a sexy whisper. Without hesitation, he stood up, unbuttoned his pants, dropped them to the floor, and pulled out his thick piece of meat. "I need you to suck this dick first. Suck it real good for Daddy," he said, while guiding her off of the desk and down on her knees. She wrapped her lips around his dick and began working her magic. One thing was for certain about the girls that worked inside of his club. They knew how to give some bomb-ass head. With a little movement, he thrust his hips, forcing his dick deeper into her throat. Without any gagging at all, she continued to suck his dick and massage his balls at the same time. He was in heaven on earth at that moment. He didn't want to waste any more time, so he pulled her up and bent her over the desk. He rubbed the head of his dick up against her wetness before pushing it all inside. His balls slapped up against her ass.